Hi Owls, this is Alissa Tertichny. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a registered yoga teacher, and I serve as one of your clinical case managers and counselors with the Department of Counseling and Psychological Services. I'm excited to share with you a resource today called the Joint Freeing Series from Yoga Therapy Center. And so I recommend, if you haven't already printed the PDF that's connected with this, go ahead and pause the video for just a minute to print that, or make sure that you can see it pulled up on a screen near you. We'll be walking through that PDF together today to learn more about the series so that you can do it at home as part of your regular self-care practice. The Joint Freeing Series is really helpful, I think, because it basically is just a guide to walk through a series of movements that create openings in all of the body's major joint systems. And so especially when you're at home doing your schoolwork from home, maybe spending more time than usual seated for long periods, or getting less movement just because you're stuck at home, sometimes your joints can get really tense. And so the Joint Freeing Series can be a really nice way just to practice some of these things at home to open up and release some of that tension in the joints. So what I'll say is, if you have a yoga mat, this is something that you can do on a yoga mat, but it's not required at all. And so when you are getting ready to do this, the only thing that you need is just a little bit of space to move. I recommend, if you have a space in your home or wherever you're staying that it has a plush surface, that's probably preferable to a hard surface, just because some of the shapes are on your knees. But I'll also say that if your body doesn't allow you to get onto the ground for any reason, a lot of these movements can also be accessed from a seated position in a chair. So that's no problem as well. And I'll be walking you through it and letting you know which movements you can do in different shapes. So when you're looking at the PDF, the first pose, which they call stick pose. And so you'll notice with these two, the pictures on the PDF are gonna show you the end of the movement range for each exercise. And so for that first one, it just tells you to sit. And so you'll be balancing on your sits bones and then extending your feet, your legs out in front of you. And here you can use your arms behind you like a kickstand. And then you're pairing the motion with breath. And so you'll exhale, pulling your toes up towards your head, making sure not to hyperextend through the knees. So you still want your heels planted on the ground. And as you inhale, you'll point your feet forward. So inhaling or exhaling your feet towards you, inhaling away. For the next movement, you'll be putting your feet together, and then the motion looks like trying to close your toes like a book and then opening them up. So just creating some different type of movement in the ankles with that rotation. So inhaling your feet out and exhaling your toes and the soles of your feet together. For motion number 3, or movement number 3, we're just starting to bring the feet into circles. And so you can also pair this motion with breath. And so for every movement that you do, just make sure that you're breathing and breathing deeply. Don't worry about having the inhale or the exhale on which direction the movement is going, but just make sure that you're continuing to breathe, because that will help increase flexibility and stretch. And so whichever way your feet were going, just make sure you bring them back the opposite direction as well. So everything that you do one way, you'll do the other way. Every movement has a counter movement. On number 4, so for this one, you'll still be maintaining that comfortable seat on your sits bones. But then you'll bring one leg with your foot planted. And so for this one, you can support this movement. In the picture, you'll see that the figure's hands are on the calf. And so one way to do this is inhaling, extending that foot up, and exhaling with the knee bent, pulling it in towards your body. I prefer to do this with my hands behind my hamstrings, like this. But basically, you're just doing an extension of the foot. If this isn't comfortable, you can do this at a lower angle as well. And of course, anything that we do on one side of the body, we'll also do on the opposite side of the body. So really just extending and stretching through the heel, bending at the knee. For shape number 5, you'll maintain that seat, but this time you'll bring your legs a little bit wide. And so for this one, hands are behind you too, and you're just going to rotate your legs from side to side and roll out through the hips. You can also see like roll out through the feet like this, just back and forth. You'll also notice on number 8 that there's some rotation with the knees. A variation of number 5 is to do this with your ankles wide and knees bent, and windshield wiper your knees back and forth. For me, that's a little bit more comfortable in my body, but you can also try it straight or with knees bent and see which you prefer. On number 6, you have a couple of options for this one. So this is what we would call cat lift, cat tuck in yoga. So if you're doing this on hands and knees like in the picture, you just want your wrists to be just below your shoulder blades, knees to fall just below your hips, and then you're inhaling, chin and hips rise, belly drops. Now as you exhale, the head tucks under and you're rounding the back. And you're gonna maintain a little micro bend in your elbows, but just moving here through that cat lift, cat tuck. Noticing where you feel stretch in your body. For this one, you also have the option to do this seated. So from a seated shape, I would recommend just finding a comfortable seat, bringing your hands to the front part of your legs, and you can exhale, rotating your back, creating a little C shape. Inhale, coming forward, opening up through the chest and moving through this motion just like this. Noticing the stretch that you get behind your shoulder blades. And so you can also do that one in a seat. So if you were seated, just rolling back and forward in your chair. For number 7, this one is also done in hands and knees. So for this shape, you'll do both sides of the body one at a time. And you'll inhale, extending your leg back behind you. And as you exhale, you'll pull your knee in towards your nose. And so inhaling behind you, exhaling knee to nose. And of course, this is another one that you're gonna wanna do on both sides of the body, just for balance. For number 8, for this one, so like I said before, you've already learned the option to sit and windshield wiper your knees, but you can also do that one on hands and knees just like this. And that can give you a really nice option just to stretch out, especially through the hip flexors. Coming through center at hands and knees, and then just letting the hips drop to each side. If you have trouble in your wrists, that one can be really intense on the wrist. So if that's the case for you, this version is gonna be a little bit less intense, maybe more comfortable in your body. For number 9, so you'll notice in this picture that the figure is sitting on their knees like this. This is an option for the next several shapes. If you have some tightness in your knees, you may also prefer to do these just in a comfortable seat, and that's totally fine. So for number 9, you're just gonna be bringing your shoulders up, back, and down so they're planted. And then your arms are gonna come out long in front of you. And you'll be inhaling, hands up, exhaling, hands down. This is another really easy one to do in the chair, especially if you've been typing or been using your mouse a lot. This can be a nice way just to stretch out the wrist. For the next option, you're gonna bring your palms up. This is number 10. You're gonna inhale your fingers out and inhale your fingers to touch. And it's interesting, even in these subtle movements, that you can really feel a lot of sensation here. This also isn't a way that we typically move this joint, so it can really open up the wrists. For number 11, you're gonna ball your hands together. In the picture, you'll see the thumbs are tucked. You can also leave your thumbs out. Just roll out the wrists. You can also do this with your elbows bent. And of course, whichever way that you go first, just make sure that you roll those wrists back the opposite direction as well. Still breathing here. Deep breaths. On exercise 12, again, the arms will come out in front of you. You'll inhale those arms out straight and exhale, bringing your fingertips to touch your shoulders. So inhaling out, exhaling your fingers in towards the body. On exercise 13, this one's similar, but you'll go ahead and start with your fingertips touching your shoulders. Your elbows will come out to the sides of your body to start with that inhale. As you exhale, you'll bring your elbows to touch or as close to touch as is going to work in your body. So inhaling, elbows out, exhaling, elbows together. On exercise 14, you're gonna create a goalpost or cactus with your arms. So you'll inhale, hands up, exhale, hands down. So this is a rotation at the elbow, but you're really moving from the shoulder joint for this one. For exercise 15, you'll inhale your arms up and exhale, sweep the arms back behind you. Exercise 16 is really similar to that seated cat lift, cat tuck. So your knees are going to be bent here. Your hands can come to the front face of the knee. And so you'll inhale, arching your back. This one you'll really just want to make sure that you're lengthening through the spine. So we're not bending our head back. We're still maintaining a straight spine, but we're just arching our back, opening up through the chest. And then as you exhale, you're rounding the back and tucking the chin down. You also have the option in 17. So this one, your knees will come long, hands will come out. You can put your hands down by the side or on your knees. But basically, we're just opening up through the side body and kind of rotating side to side here. You also have the option with this one that you can bring your hand down to the side and bring your arm up and over the ear as you rotate from side to side, which can give you just a little bit more openness in the side body. And so you'll notice with this, your hips are planted and they aren't moving. So the only movement in the body is in the upper part of the body from the torso. Exercise 18 is just a spinal twist. So for this one, you'll inhale through center and exhale, twist. So you can bring that front arm across the body to the opposite knee. And you're just going to the edge of the body's boundary here, and then you can bring your chin and your gaze over that shoulder. Again, inhaling through center and exhaling into twist the opposite side. So in this one, it's the same case where you're only moving in the upper body. So the hips and below are planted. And that movement is in the upper body. For number 19, so this is just your neck opener. So in the picture, you'll see she's kind of putting her head back and then rolling it forward. For this one, I would just recommend bringing, like inhaling, lengthening through the crown of the head and exhaling your chin down to your chest. So really not bringing the head back, but just kind of bringing it forward. And another variation of this that I really like is once the chin is down, rotate your head right ear over right shoulder, and then left ear over left shoulder. And so really bringing that head into a rotation across the front body to open up the joints in the neck and the muscles around the neck, which is where we tend to hold a lot of our stress and a lot of our tension. And so the last one in second to last one is 20. So this one is bringing the head side to side. So inhaling head straight, exhaling right ear towards right shoulder, inhaling through center, left ear towards left shoulder. Just like that. And then the last one, number 21, is inhaling through center and exhaling to the right, through center, and then through left. So you're basically just making this shape of saying no, like a no head shape, just more intentionally. And again, finding the edge of that joint range. So find the place where your neck says stop, and then you can notice the sensation of stretch in the neck there. So that is the joint freeing series. I hope that this was helpful to guide and walk you through it. If you have any questions, shoot us an email at counseling@kennesaw.edu and just address it to Alissa, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I hope that you enjoy practicing the joint freeing series at home. Be well and practice your self-care. See you soon.